Today is Tuesday, March 13th, 2018, and Focus starts right now. An organization will be on the quad today offering opportunities for students to serve their community. A dog is given a second chance, and a walkout organized by Palo Alto students in light of recent occurrences of gun violence. All that and more is coming up on today's show. Well, let's get started with our daily pick. We'd like to thank Mr. Iorio for sending today's pick our way. And remember, anyone can send in a daily pick. Simply tweet to us at InFocus. Today's daily pick shows an inspiring quote from Women's History Month from the notable author and poet Maya Angelou. Now moving on to what's happening on campus today with today's Campus Bulletin. Downtown Streets team is starting a youth advisory council. This council will serve as a way for students to become engaged in the mission of DST, but more importantly, to implement new outlets to serve their community in areas of volunteerism, advocacy, and social change. Downtown Streets Team Youth Advisory Council will have an informational table on the quad during lunch today. For more information, visit their website, www.streetsteam.org. Students interested in joining PALI's associated student body can do so by picking up a packet from P8. Available positions include student body president, student body vice president, ASB treasurer, ASB secretary, class president, and class vice president. Applications are due March 15th. See Mr. Hall in P8 for more information. One of ASB's biggest events is prom. Prom tickets are available on the PALI web store until March 30th, right before spring break. PALI Theater presents the world premiere of Venture, which is an original musical. Set in the world of Silicon Valley, Venture brings together the unlikely topics of love, patent infringement, and female empowerment into toe-tapping melodies. There are still performances happening on the 15th at 4 p.m. and the 18th at 2 p.m. So if you haven't checked out this great show, get your tickets for $15 for adults and $10 for students and seniors. PALI is hosting its first ever science fair during the month of April. Interested students should email palisciencefair@gmail.com to learn how to sign up. There will be prizes for those in attendance. Barbell Club will be hosting a meeting during Flex in the weight room today. Everyone is welcome. Mr. Fung and others will be there to provide support, technique critiques. Stephen Waltaz, a bioengineer and consultant for medical devices at Stanford University, wants to share his story, give advice, and answer questions about the medical field. Over the years, Stephen has been involved in many projects, including the system designed to support Stephen Hawking. Come to room 805 at lunch next Wednesday, Wednesday, March 14th. There will be food. Lastly, students who will be 18 by Election Day can register to vote. Students who are currently 16 or 17 years old can pre-register to vote. There will be a booth set up in the MAC tomorrow where students can come by to register and grab a free snack. Moving on now from what's going on around campus to what's happening in the world today. Topping today's headlines. Well, China is warning the U.S. a trade war will bring economic disaster for both countries. Beijing is again criticizing President Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum. China's Commerce Minister says his country will not start a trade war, but it will defend its interests and its people. Students, teachers, and parents from Florida's Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School rallied Saturday on behalf of the victims of last month's mass school shooting. The rally and march was organized in part by a Stoneman Douglas High School senior. She urged attendees to support state and federal increases on mental health funding, as well as a ban on semi-automatic weapons. Several attendees say the school had a strong tradition of student and staff involvement, and that the tradition will continue when it comes to changing state and federal gun laws. And lastly, an uplifting story, an abused dog gets a second shot at a happy life. Chance, the golden retriever, was found with severe injuries in November of 2016. He'd been shot in the back leg and had a trap on his front leg. Vets in Brook Park, Illinois put him back together. And when he was ready for adoption, more than 80 families wanted him. Heather and Doug Labuda were the lucky winners, and now they have a therapy dog. In June of 2017, Chance passed his therapy dog test. Chance goes in to work with his mom, a tutor who teaches reading. She says he helps the kids focus and stay calm. If you want to keep track of Chance or learn more about his story, he has a blog and his own Facebook page. Now let's turn to open our history books and see what happened today in history. Following this month's theme of women's history, today in 1918, women were scheduled to march in the St. Patrick's Day Parade in New York. This was the first time this happened, and it happened due to a shortage of men who were fighting in Europe during World War I. Now it's time to get another piece of the puzzle as we see if we can figure out who this week's Guess Who staff member is. Today's clue is that this staff member used to hang out with the pop punk band Blink-182. Do you know who it is? Be sure to tweet your guesses to us at InFocus. We will feature the winning names on Friday when we get to meet our secret staff member. In light of recent occurrences of gun violence, many students, staff, and politicians have found different ways of expressing concern. Palo Alto students as well have organized a walkout. Alistair Carrot has more.
The tragic shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida spawned several movements and cries for reform, such as the #NeverAgain movement. It has also led to school walkouts around the country. Zoe Sid is one of the students organizing the Pally walkout. We talked to her to find out more.
The walkout is March 14th at 10 a.m. for 17 minutes. We're walking out for those in Florida who experienced the shooting, and we want to make a statement by walking out as high schoolers along with Castellea and Stanford. Currently we have just over 300 people interested in participating, and I guess we'll really see how many actually show up.
We then went to the MAC to find out what students thought of the walkout and whether they would be participating.
I think that it's great to see students working together for a positive change in the world.
Will you be participating?
Yes.
When during school?
I don't care, as long as I'm missing class.
I think it's a great way for students to show their support for the recent tragedies we've seen in this country. And it's also a way for the government to know that the youth are, active and here to make a change. I will most definitely be participating.
I support walking out and grievance for the people who passed away, but I respect our right to bear arms and it's everybody's right.
Will you be participating in the walkout or no?
I'll walk out to give respect to the people who died.
There's a walkout?
Yeah, I think I will.
Why are you going to participate?
I just think there's been way too many shootings this year. We've had 19 since January 1st, and I think that number should go way down.
Another question we had is how admin would respond to the walkout. And we talked to Mr. Paulson to find out what admin's position on it is and what possible repercussions there may be for students who participate.
So with the student protests, we can't really take a stance as far as administration or a school because those are controversial issues. I certainly would encourage students to exercise their constitutional rights. As far as what we're going to do, we'll respond to what happens. So if students walk out, we're just going to respond. We'll respond to that. If it's small, if it's large, I'm just not sure how many people are going to participate in that. So as far as attendance, because a lot of people have asked me, it's pretty easy. Like if a teacher has to take attendance in class, so if you're there, they will mark you there, and if you're not, they'll mark that appropriately. And that's part of, I think part of protests or part of walkouts are, it's individual, right? You as a student have to make up your mind if you are going to, if you're going to be okay with the consequences in that. And if you look back at any protests, there's always individual consequences that happen.
For InFocus, I'm Finn Minuti.
Now it's time to figure out who our birthday boys and girls are for today. InFocus wishes a very happy birthday to Paris Coleman Jackson and InFocus's own Cooper Kim. Well, that does it for today's episode. Have a great day, Pally.